Hello, everybody. Jess Lohse, Structural Building Components Association, SBCA, for another weekly update. It is March 27th, 2025. We are almost through with quarter number one of the year. It is flying, which is a good thing in my book because that means we're busy and actively doing things. And one thing, I believe today is opening day. I'm sure there's going to be some baseball games, a couple of opening days, but something baseball related to talk to you about. Our OQM coming up in DC that week in June. We have actually scheduled kind of a team building networking opportunity to go to the Washington Nationals game. It's going to be on Wednesday of that week. We're going to have it live. If it's not live, like immediately right now, it will be within an hour or two on our website under the OQM registration. So very similar to the Fenway event that we had a few years ago, where it's going to be kind of a tailgate atmosphere beforehand. I think they'll let us in 75 minutes before game time. There'll be beer, wine, food, really just kind of the ballpark atmosphere, being able to be around your fellow OQM attendees. I believe the cost is $135. Don't quote me on that. Look and see what it is under the registration as you're hitting, yes, I want to go. But it should be really cool. A year or two ago when we were there for IHS, some of our staff members and I were able to go and see the ballpark, go to a game. Really cool place. It was, we were kind of rushed. We, were there, but great game. It was fun. I believe our seats are going to be along the first baseline, so kind of down in the lower section, lower rows. So if you're a baseball fan or if you're just like being around people, especially in those casual settings, no better opportunity than going to a baseball game, having a beverage, a hot dog, or whatever they'll have for us there. But really good opportunity, and make sure you sign up for that DC OQM. We are excited to get people there. There's going to be a lot of things going on. We're already lining up some speakers. I will kind of hedge on announcing those, but our staff is hard at work at making sure that it's going to be a very knowledgeable, entertaining, and then also productive OQM for us. So look for that first week of June, and make sure you get registered as soon as possible. Tickets for the game are limited. So, I don't want you being like, oh, how do I get a ticket, Jess? How do I, we get a lot of people to do that. And I don't think I'm going to be able to help much on this one just because of the ticket base that is there, but we'll see. Always ask the question, but don't wait for that. Just go get your ticket. Beyond that, wanted to talk a little bit about our chapters. Had the opportunity to sit in on a chapter meeting, kind of a reignition. I think Talia from our staff, trying to get chapters re-engaged. Well, she said reignite, and I like that word because really what it said to me, or what I realized as I was sitting there, is chapters are a great way to stay involved and to stay relevant in the industry. Not just SBCA. There's obviously SBCA value to be had there, but just knowing about the ongoings of what's happening, where the codes are at, where the local markets are treating the codes, what's going to be adopted, when is it going to be adopted, what version, different cities. And that's always something to complain about because, everything's different everywhere. But it is one to know, and that is one that's very powerful. So, the other things that happen in, it's kind of it's a drip, but a lot of drips will fill up a swimming pool eventually from that leaky faucet. It is that things happen over time, and it's a cumulative effect. So understanding what's going on with TPI 1, what are the changes between 14 and 22? BCSI 25, we've got some changes. How do you articulate that? DSB, we jumped from 89 to, I think, 24. So a lot of changes going there. And when do you use each of these different tools? And then we, obviously the IRC, IBC changes. We're actually talking about code change proposals for the 27 cycle, I think it is. So those things are always kind of ongoing, and chapters are a great way to where maybe you're not ready to go to an OQM, but definitely engage your chapter. And we have made it as easy as possible to really be engaged in chapters, or specifically chapter leadership. So if you're interested in getting involved in an existing chapter, reinvigorating or reigniting another chapter, or even starting your own, reach out to us. Talia's been doing a great job along those lines. But really, it's one of those, the way it's a great local effort to know what's going on. And with that, they're not all in person. We can have virtual meetings as well, and that makes sense for, like, it just happened to be Montana, where I'm from, vast state, one end to the other. It's a lot of hours. Let's do it virtually. And that's perfectly fine for that. Other chapters are like, heck no, we want to be in person. We want to see each other and be able to, congregate around a table or whatever you have it, and really be able to have those side conversations as well. So there's all kinds of different opportunities with chapters. Make sure you take that. But it really is to be taking advantage of that information and staying on top of your business. And for me, chapters, when I was a component manufacturer, it was a great way for me to, gain expertise. And from very early on in my career, I always wanted to be the expert on whatever it is that I was working on. And that expert doesn't mean nationally renowned or anything, but just be the expert in your office, in the cubicle, in, your city, maybe your state, and that grows, and you'll collect that knowledge. And the cumulative effect of having that might have been a reason to how I landed here, but it is one of those that if you take that stance and that prerogative towards that, the education, people will respect knowledge. That's universal. So if the more you know, the better off you're going to be when you're in those conversations, whether it's code officials, architects, specifiers, the builders. Really having that knowledge and engaging SBCA to gain that knowledge is a huge opportunity there. So really, want to enforce that. Beyond that, had one of our staff people go out and tour a facility, and it's interesting. She's new on staff, kind of her perspective on certain things and what goes on and how it's done. Again, it's amazing things that component manufacturers do when you just blank slate it and think about it like, oh my gosh, we take these 2D paper drawings, put them in a 3D computer program, design it, chop it up, make sure each one of those elements is properly designed and engineered, and then we go out and build it. A lot of people will focus on that latter part, and that's the cool stuff. That's the machinery, that's the action, the things going, saws happening, all of that, and don't sell that short at all. But I do think a lot of the tours that I've been on and those such, it undersells the design aspect of it, and that is such a huge opportunity because that again gets back to that knowledge and just the creativity, the knowledge, the expertise that those technicians have is really amazing, and the tools that they have at their disposal to use those, it's just amazing. So if you're doing a plant tour, don't undersell that design aspect of it. Make sure that you're taking them through and they understand that process. It's the information flow, because the information eventually turns into wood that's cut and pressed together or nailed together depending on what the component is. But make sure you're kind of understanding that. And this, I'm kind of, I don't know, feel a little soapboxy today, but let's talk a little bit about March Madness. We went through the first couple of rounds. We got some leaders. It looks like JP, not sure who JP is, but he's tied in first place with Darren Schramm on the men's side of things. That's going to be pretty competitive. It looks like it'll finish good. I'm not going to tell you where I'm at because I think I'm in third place of a house of three with our table, bracket. So not, a little bit of humble pie here as far as my picks go. But beyond that, the women's side looks like Dallas Austin from Big C. He's in first place, followed closely by our own Christine Wagner. So make sure you follow that. I wish that there was the ability to pick after each round, kind of like fantasy football week to week. It keeps you engaged. But this one, you kind of set it, you forget it, and then you look up a month later and you got some bragging rights. Or like me, you're feeling sorry for yourself. Anyway, till next week, we'll talk a little bit more about who's in the Final Four as well as some other component-related stuff and SBCA-related stuff. Thanks for hanging with me. Love talking to you. Love the feedback that I get off of this as well. But till next time, peaks up, press on. Have a great week, everybody. Goodbye.